It is July 1st, 2020. We are at the 6 Mile Cypress Nature Reserve, and we have a parking slip to prove it, and we're good to go until 5 o'clock. Trail host station. We are at the beginning of the boardwalk. Beautiful example of an ecotone transitioning from the marshes back there over into the swamp pond area over here. Great example of a watershed here as this water flows off into many different parts of the preserve. Notably over here, the pond flows well into the pines area, up the marshes, and over into the main part of the reserve. As we can see, there's a type of pine tree right here, which indicates that it would be a pine wetland. There's also oak trees surrounding it, and a bunch of other different types of plants. Very unique type of ecosystem over here. We got cypress knees over here as well. And there's the pond over there. Beautiful pine tree. Nice little estuary over here. As we can see, the freshwater grass from the marsh lead into a swamp that's right behind it. So this evening I went to the 6 Mile Cypress Preserve that is on 6 Mile Cypress Boulevard in between Daniels Parkway and Colonial Boulevard. It is located about 15 minutes away from Florida Gulf Coast University, and I learned so much about it. I learned about the many types of ecosystems that are contained within that preserve, including wetlands, swamps, marshes, pine flatlands, etc. On top of that, I learned about a lot of the different types of organisms that live within those ecosystems, including birds, fish, plants, trees, and various other types of organisms as well. On top of that, I learned about hydrology, which that is the relation of Earth's water in relation to how it moves when there's land nearby. So obviously there's a ton of watersheds that were located within the preserve, so that's a good example of hydrology right there. How, for example, a swamp would transition into elevated ecosystem that's separated from that swamp itself. That's an example of a watershed and hydrology. On top of that, I learned about a bunch of different ecotones, which that's essentially a kind of an off branch of hydrology itself. That's when one ecosystem transitions into another. I also encountered many of those throughout my time at the 6 Mile Cypress Preserve as well. I learned about why these natural parks and why these different types of ecosystems are important to us as humans, and why we need to control them by burning them, which obviously if we don't burn them, then all the natural parks and those ecosystems would get overgrown and cause wild forest fires, which cannot be controlled. So overall, I learned so much about the different types of species of organisms that live within the 6 Mile Cypress Preserve, the types of ecosystems that are within it, why the different organisms live within those ecosystems, why they're important to humans, and overall, I had a great time. I really did. I thought it was a very good field trip. I'm happy I went. I learned a lot about where I'm from and the types of ecosystems that are in our backyard. So overall, I thought this was a very good little field trip. I wish I could have gone with my fellow classmates, but I still think I made the most of it.